I was at a buddy's place last weekend helping him organize his garage shelves. He's been prepping for about 6 years now. Serious about it. Not the tinfoil hat type. Just a regular guy with a family who wants to be ready if things go sideways. And while we were sorting through his food storage, I started noticing something. Half the stuff I keep in my own pantry, he would never touch. I asked him why, and he just looked at me and said, "You're paying more for less, and most of it won't last anyway." That hit me, because I always thought I was being smart. Turns out I was making the same mistakes most people make. And once he walked me through his logic, I couldn't unsee it. So today I'm sharing 12 grocery items that smart preppers never buy. These are the products that look like good deals, but quietly drain your budget, go bad faster than you think, or just don't perform when you actually need them. Some of these are going to surprise you, especially number 7. I still can't believe how long I fell for that one. If you're watching this and you care about stretching your dollar and being ready for whatever comes next, hit that subscribe button right now. Most of the stuff I'm about to share, nobody is talking about, and that's exactly why you need to hear it. Let's get into it. Item number 1, canned soup. This is probably the most controversial one on the list because canned soup feels like the ultimate prepper food. It's shelf-stable, it's warm and comforting. You see it stacked in every emergency supply photo on the internet. But here's the thing smart preppers figured out a long time ago. Canned soup is one of the worst values in the entire grocery store. Look at what you're actually buying. You're buying water. A 16-ounce can of chicken noodle soup is roughly 80% water with a tiny amount of noodles, a few shreds of chicken, and a load of sodium. The calorie count is embarrassingly low for the price. Most cans give you around 150 calories. In a real emergency, that's nothing. You'd need to eat 10 cans a day just to stay functional. Industry data backs this up. The average price of name-brand canned soup has climbed past $3 a can in most stores as of early 2026. That's $3 for 150 calories of mostly salt water. Meanwhile, a 1-pound bag of dried lentils costs about $1.50 and gives you over 1,600 calories plus protein and fiber. I used to keep an entire shelf of canned soup in my basement. Tomato, chicken noodle, minestrone, you name it. When I actually sat down and did the math on cost per calorie, I felt embarrassed. I had spent over $100 on what amounted to flavored water with a 2-year shelf life. If you want soup, buy the base ingredients yourself. Dried beans, bouillon cubes, dried pasta, and seasoning packets. You'll get 10 times the nutrition at a fraction of the cost. And the shelf life on dry goods blows canned soup out of the water. Smart preppers build meals from components. They don't buy pre-made comfort in a can. This is one of those things that seems so obvious once you see it, but almost nobody talks about it because the canned soup aisle feels safe and familiar. Item number 2, bottled water in small plastic bottles. I know what you're thinking. Water is the most important prep of all, and you're absolutely right. But smart preppers never buy those 24 packs of small plastic water bottles from Walmart or Costco. And the reason is both practical and financial. Those thin plastic bottles leach chemicals over time, especially when stored in garages or warm environments. BPA-free doesn't mean chemical-free. Studies have shown that plastic water bottles stored above 70 degrees for extended periods release microplastics and other compounds into the water. And most people store their emergency water in exactly those conditions. Beyond that, the cost is absurd. A 24-pack of bottled water runs about $5 to $7 depending on the brand. That gives you roughly 3 gallons. A single 7-gallon water storage container costs around $12, and you can fill it from your tap with a few drops of unscented bleach for purification. That's pennies per gallon versus dollars per gallon. I had cases of bottled water stacked in my garage for 3 years before someone pointed out to me that the plastic had started to warp and the water tasted like a shower curtain. That was a wake-up call. The move here is to invest in food-grade water storage containers, learn basic water purification, and stop handing your money to Dasani and Aquafina for something that comes out of your faucet. A good water filter like a Berkey or a Sawyer system pays for itself within weeks. Smart preppers store water in bulk and filter on demand. They don't stockpile tiny plastic bottles that degrade in storage. You don't want to find out your water supply is compromised on the day you actually need it. Item number 3, granola bars and protein bars. This one stings a little because I used to throw a box of granola bars into my cart every single week, thinking I was being practical. They're portable. They're individually wrapped. They seem like the perfect emergency snack. But smart preppers avoid them for a few very good reasons. First, the shelf life is mediocre. Most granola bars and protein bars have a best-by date of 6 to 12 months. The oils in them go rancid. The chocolate chips bloom. The texture turns into something between cardboard and cement. For a product that costs $5 to $8 a box, that's a terrible return on investment. Second, the calorie density is weak compared to real survival food. A typical granola bar gives you around 140 calories. A quarter cup of peanuts gives you over 200 calories and lasts years in proper storage. A single tablespoon of coconut oil has 120 calories and a shelf life that stretches beyond 2 years without refrigeration. The protein bar market hit over $7 billion in the US last year, and the markup on those products is staggering. You're paying for branding, packaging, and convenience. None of those things matter when the lights go out. I talked to a guy who runs a preparedness group in Texas, and he told me something I'll never forget. He said if you can't store it for 5 years and get real energy out of it, it's not prep food. It's a snack. And snacks don't keep you alive. Instead of granola bars, stock up on nuts, dried fruit, peanut butter in glass jars, hard candy for quick sugar, and honey. All of those last longer, cost less per calorie, and actually deliver nutrition when it counts. This is about being honest with yourself about what's really useful versus what just makes you feel prepared. Item number 4. Bleached white flour. Now this one might catch some people off guard because flour seems like such a basic staple, and it is, but smart preppers never buy the standard bleached all-purpose flour you see on the shelf at every grocery store. And the reason is shelf life and nutrition. Bleached white flour has been stripped of the bran and germ, which means most of the nutrients are gone. What's left is essentially starch, and that starch doesn't store as well as you'd think. Standard white flour starts degrading in quality after about 6 to 8 months in a pantry. It absorbs moisture, it attracts weevils, it goes stale. Meanwhile, whole wheat berries, the actual grain before it's processed, can last over 25 years when stored in a sealed container with oxygen absorbers. You can grind them into flour whenever you need it using a simple hand-crank grain mill. The nutrition difference is massive. You're getting fiber, protein, vitamins, and minerals that bleached flour simply doesn't have. I bought a 50-pound bag of hard red wheat berries from a bulk supplier for about $35. That same amount of flour at the store would cost more and go bad in a fraction of the time. It was one of the smartest purchases I've ever made. If you're serious about long-term food storage, skip the flour aisle entirely. Buy whole grains. Buy a mill. You'll save money, eat better, and have a supply that outlasts anything in a paper bag on the shelf. This is the kind of knowledge that separates someone who's truly prepared from someone who just thinks they are. Item number 5. Vegetable oil in plastic bottles. Here's one that's sitting in almost every kitchen in America right now. That big plastic jug of vegetable oil. Soybean oil, canola oil, corn oil. Smart preppers won't go near them, and there are multiple reasons why. The first problem is shelf life. Vegetable oils in plastic bottles go rancid within 6 to 12 months after opening, and even sealed bottles start degrading after about 18 months. Rancid oil doesn't just taste bad, it produces free radicals that are harmful when consumed, and you won't always be able to smell it. Some oils go rancid quietly. The second problem is the plastic itself. Just like with water bottles, those thin plastic oil containers leach chemicals into the product over time, especially in warm storage conditions. This has been documented in food science research repeatedly. The third problem is nutritional. Most cheap vegetable oils are heavily processed and offer very little in terms of actual energy density compared to better alternatives. I had a gallon jug of canola oil in my storage for about 2 years. When I finally opened it, the smell hit me before I even got the cap off. Total waste of money. Smart preppers store coconut oil, which lasts 2+ years and is solid at room temperature, making it easier to manage. They store olive oil in dark glass bottles. Some even store rendered lard or ghee, both of which have excellent shelf lives when prepared and sealed correctly. These fats are calorie-dense, versatile, and actually hold up over time. Switch your oil strategy now before you end up with a shelf full of rancid plastic bottles that you can't use when it matters. Item number 6. Instant mashed potatoes. This is another one that looks like a prepper staple on the surface. Just add water and you've got a hot meal. But smart preppers know that instant mashed potatoes are a nutritional wasteland disguised as convenience food. A standard serving of instant mashed potatoes gives you about 110 calories with very little protein, very little fiber, and a long list of additives including sodium, preservatives, and artificial flavoring. The shelf life is decent at around 2 to 3 years, but the value per dollar is terrible when you compare it to actual dehydrated potato flakes or even better, real dried potato slices you can make yourself. Retail pricing on instant mashed potatoes has crept up significantly. A box that used to cost $1.50 is now pushing $3 at most grocery chains. For the same price, you can buy a 5-pound bag of fresh potatoes, slice them thin, dehydrate them at home, and end up with a product that's more nutritious, lasts longer in proper storage, and costs a fraction per serving. I made this switch about a year ago after a friend who homesteads showed me how easy it is to dehydrate potatoes. I felt ridiculous for all the years I spent buying those little boxes thinking I was being efficient. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can even do it in your oven on the lowest setting. It takes time, but the result is a superior product that you control completely. No additives. No mystery ingredients. Just potatoes. Being prepared isn't about convenience. It's about making sure what you store actually works when you need it. Item number 7. Name brand spices in small glass jars. Alright, this is the one I teased at the beginning, and honestly, this might be the biggest quiet ripoff in the entire grocery store. Those little glass jars of McCormick or Spice Island spices that cost $4, $5, sometimes $8 for a couple of ounces. Smart preppers never buy them, and once you understand why, you'll never look at the spice aisle the same way again. The markup on small jar spices is absolutely insane. We're talking 300 to 500% markups compared to buying the same spices in bulk. A 2-ounce jar of ground cinnamon at the grocery store might cost you $4.50. That same amount from a bulk spice supplier or even the bulk bin at a store like Winco or a local co-op costs around 40 cents. That's not a small difference. That's a completely different financial reality. And here's what really gets me. Spices are one of the most important things in long-term food storage. When you're eating rice and beans every day, spices are the difference between a meal you can tolerate and a meal you actually want to eat. Morale matters in a crisis. Flavor matters. But you don't need to spend a fortune to have a well-stocked spice shelf. I spent years buying those little jars one at a time. I probably dropped $500 over the course of a decade on spices that I could have gotten for under $100 if I'd bought in bulk from the start. When I finally did the math, I was genuinely angry at myself. Buy your spices from bulk suppliers online. Companies like Frontier Co-op and other bulk retailers sell spices in 1-pound bags for a fraction of the grocery store price. Store them in mason jars with tight lids and keep them in a cool, dark place. Most whole spices last 3 to 4 years. Ground spices last 1 to 2 years, but still far longer than you'd think. This is one of those changes that saves you hundreds of dollars over time and actually improves your preparedness. It's a no-brainer once you see it. Item number 8. Canned vegetables. This one follows the same logic as canned soup, but it's worth calling out separately because so many people build their entire food storage around canned green beans, canned corn, and canned peas. Smart preppers skip the canned vegetable aisle almost entirely. The problem is the same. You're paying for water, a can, and a label. The actual vegetable content is minimal, and the nutritional value degrades significantly during the canning process. Heat destroys vitamins. The sodium levels are high, and the shelf life, while decent at 2 to 5 years, is actually shorter than most people assume for optimal nutrition. A 14-ounce can of green beans at Walmart costs about $1.20 now. It contains maybe 3 servings with roughly 65 calories total. Compare that to a bag of freeze-dried green beans that costs a few dollars more but contains 6 times the servings, retains over 90% of the original nutrition, weighs almost nothing, and lasts 25 years or more when sealed properly. I cleared out about 40 cans of vegetables from my storage last year and replaced them with freeze-dried alternatives and home-dehydrated vegetables from my garden. The space savings alone was worth it. Those 40 cans took up an entire shelf. The freeze-dried replacements fit in a single bin. If you're going to store vegetables long-term, invest in freeze-dried options or learn to dehydrate your own. The upfront cost is slightly higher, but the long-term value destroys canned goods in every measurable way. Calories per dollar, nutrition per ounce, shelf life per square foot of storage space. Stop filling your shelves with heavy cans of salt water and start thinking like someone who actually plans to use this food. Item number 9. Breakfast cereal. This one might seem obvious to experienced preppers, but I still see it in people's pantries all the time. Boxes of Cheerios, Frosted Flakes, and Raisin Bran sitting on the shelf as if they're going to be useful in an emergency. They won't be. Breakfast cereal is one of the lowest calorie per dollar foods in the entire store. A box of cereal costs between $4 and $7 and contains maybe 1,500 calories total. That's about the same caloric value as a single dollar's worth of rice. The shelf life is terrible. Most cereals go stale within 6 to 8 months, even in an unopened box. And once opened, you've got maybe 2 weeks before it's cardboard. Beyond that, cereal requires milk. In a grid-down scenario, or even just a prolonged supply disruption, fresh milk is one of the first things to disappear. So now you've got a box of dry cereal that nobody wants to eat plain, and no way to prepare it the way your family is used to. I used to keep 3 or 4 boxes of cereal in rotation at all times, thinking it was a quick, easy breakfast option for my kids. Then I switched to oats. A 25-pound bag of rolled oats costs about $15 and provides over 40,000 calories. It lasts years in sealed storage. You can make it with just water. You can add honey, dried fruit, peanut butter, or cinnamon. It's versatile, calorie-dense, and dirt cheap. If you're still buying cereal as part of your food strategy, it's time to rethink that. Oats, grits, and cream of wheat all outperform cereal in every category that matters. Your family might complain for a week, but they'll thank you when it counts. Item number 10. Condiment packets and single-serve sauces. I see this one a lot in prepper forums and it drives me crazy. People hoarding ketchup packets, soy sauce packets, hot sauce packets, and little mayo pouches from fast food restaurants. It feels clever. It feels like you're getting something for free. But smart preppers know this is a waste of time and space. Those packets contain tiny amounts of product with a shelf life that's far shorter than most people realize. Ketchup packets from McDonald's start degrading in quality after about 6 to 9 months. Mayo packets can go bad even faster. And the amount of actual product you'd need to make a meaningful difference in meal preparation is enormous. You'd need hundreds of packets to equal what a single bottle provides. The real cost here isn't money, it's space and organization. Those packets take up room, they're hard to sort, they leak, and they create clutter in your storage system. Every square inch of storage space matters when you're building a serious food supply. I went through a phase where I saved every condiment packet I got from every drive-thru for about a year. I ended up with a gallon bag full of assorted packets that amounted to maybe 2 cups of actual condiment. It was embarrassing. Buy full-size bottles of the sauces and condiments you actually use. Better yet, learn to make your own. A bottle of vinegar, some sugar, and tomato paste gives you ketchup for months at a fraction of the cost. Hot sauce made from dried peppers lasts indefinitely. Soy sauce in a glass bottle has a shelf life measured in years. Stop collecting packets. Start building a real condiment shelf. Item number 11. Pre-made freeze-dried emergency meal kits. Now this one is going to ruffle some feathers because the emergency meal kit industry has exploded in the last few years. Companies like Mountain House, Augustin Farms, and ReadyWise sell these big buckets of freeze-dried meals for anywhere from $80 to $300. They market them as complete emergency food solutions, and a lot of people buy them without ever looking at the label. Here's what smart preppers know. Those buckets are heavily padded with cheap filler meals. You'll get a lot of flavored rice, a lot of pasta with powdered sauce, and very little actual protein or nutritional density. The calorie counts on many of these kits are misleading. Some advertise 30-day supplies that actually provide only about 1,200 calories per day. That's a starvation diet for any adult doing physical work. The cost per calorie in these kits is significantly higher than building your own food storage from individual components. A $100 emergency bucket might give you 30,000 calories. That same $100 spent on rice, beans, oats, powdered milk, and canned meat could easily give you over 100,000 calories with better nutritional balance. I bought one of those 72-hour emergency buckets a few years ago during a sale. When I actually opened it and tried the meals, I was shocked at how small the portions were and how bland the food tasted. It felt like I'd paid $60 for what amounted to a few cups of flavored starch. Build your own kits. Buy the components separately. Vacuum seal them yourself. You'll save 50 to 70% and end up with food you'd actually want to eat. The bucket marketing is designed to make you feel prepared without doing the work. But the work is where the real value is. Don't let a shiny label replace actual planning. Item number 12. Brown sugar. This last one is subtle, but it's a perfect example of how smart preppers think differently than the average shopper. Brown sugar seems like a pantry essential. You use it in baking, marinades, oatmeal, and sauces. But smart preppers never stockpile it, and the reason is simple. Brown sugar is just white sugar with molasses added back in. That's it. There's no nutritional advantage, and brown sugar has a major storage problem. It hardens into a rock within weeks of being opened, and even sealed bags can turn into bricks over a few months. Once it hardens, it's a pain to break apart and use. Meanwhile, white granulated sugar stored in a sealed container with oxygen absorbers lasts essentially forever. It never goes bad. It never hardens. And if you ever need brown sugar, you just add a tablespoon of molasses to a cup of white sugar and stir. You've just made brown sugar from two ingredients that each store independently for years. A bag of brown sugar costs about the same as white sugar, but gives you a product that's harder to store, harder to manage, and completely unnecessary if you keep molasses on hand separately. I had a bag of brown sugar in my pantry that turned into a solid block in about 3 months. I tried the bread trick, the microwave trick, everything. It was done. Total waste. Now I keep a big sealed bucket of white sugar and a bottle of molasses. Problem solved permanently. This is the kind of thinking that separates someone who preps smart from someone who just fills shelves. Every item in your storage should earn its place. If something can be replaced by 2 longer-lasting components that you already need anyway, make the switch. So let's step back and look at the pattern here. Every single item on this list has something in common. They're products that feel right. They feel like good choices. They sit in your cart and make you feel like you're being responsible. But when you actually break down the numbers, the shelf life, the nutrition, and the cost per calorie, they fall apart. They're comfort purchases, not strategic ones. Smart preppers don't shop with emotion. They shop with math. They ask 3 questions about everything. How long will this last? How many calories does it give me per dollar? And can I get the same result cheaper with basic ingredients? If a product fails any of those tests, it doesn't make the cut. The people who are truly prepared aren't the ones with the most stuff on their shelves. They're the ones who've thought the hardest about what belongs there. And now you have that same knowledge. Most people will keep buying canned soup and bottled water and granola bars and thinking they're ready. They'll keep grabbing those little spice jars and tossing cereal boxes into the cart and feeling good about it. But you know better now. You've seen behind the curtain. And that puts you ahead of 90% of the people out there. Don't panic. Don't rush out and throw everything away. Just start making smarter swaps one item at a time. Replace the canned soup with dried beans. Replace the bottled water with a real storage system. Replace the spice jars with bulk bags. Small changes that add up to massive savings and real preparedness. If this video opened your eyes to even one thing you didn't know before, hit that subscribe button. I put out content like this every week. Things the stores don't want you to think about. Things that save you real money and keep your family ahead of what's coming. Drop a comment and tell me which item on this list surprised you the most. I read every single one. Next week I've got something even bigger coming. Something about the way grocery stores are quietly reorganizing their shelves to push you toward higher margin products. You're going to want to see that. Stay smart. Stay ready. I'll see you in the next one.